I would say StreamTech is, in my opinion, the Bentley of rafts. StreamTech is just a unique boat. I truly don't think there is another boat like it. It was designed from the ground up to be the ultimate fly fishing and whitewater boat. Most boats were whitewater boats, and then somebody put a fly fishing frame on them, and then they became a fly fishing boat. When Link started this in 1997, he was just set on getting this thing right. You know, the deal was trying to get the floors to come up. Like, why do drift boats row so much better than the traditional raft? And that's ultimately what fueled this quest, like, to how do we build the perfect raft. That started in 97 and it hasn't stopped. You know, we have a motto that we are always going to be 1% better. And so we are always chasing that. But if you were to take our boat and look at the floor design on it, it's not like any other whitewater boat you're going to find. You know, the floors come up in the bow and the stern, and where they come up, that basically gives it that pivot point like a drift boat. You know, like when a drift boat rows backwards and it can actually surf backwards, that's what our boat can do. I'm Scott Penzer. I am the owner of StreamTech Boats, and we're located here in Boise, Idaho. I was raised in Craigmont, Idaho, which is a small town of 600 people. And I had found StreamTech about 4 years ago. And I told Link after I had my first boat that if you ever sell the company, I want to be the guy. And well, if you're doing the math, it took about another 4 or 5 years before I was able to get it. We're proud to say that our boats are made right here in Boise, Idaho. So all of the urethane, the pre-boat, the triple encapsulation, all of that is done here. Drop stitch floor. Most drop stitch right now is coming from overseas. We hand make our drop stitch floors right here in Boise at the factory. You don't see that anymore. All the hand welding, spraying, everything is done here locally in Boise, Idaho. At the end of the day, you know, traditional style would be you pick out your rubber, you pick out your frame, you marry them together, and you go. You know, StreamTech, we have our custom frame that comes with the boat. So when you buy our package, the frame is included, the seats are included. It is a custom package. So regarding our frames, you know, there's another key component to our frames. So on top of them, all the custom stuff, all of our pieces are press fit and collared. Okay, so what that means is if you need to fly into the middle fork or you need to put your boat in the back of a Subaru, like I have taken our 14'6" stillhead and I have put it in a Subaru before. You can do that because the way our frame was designed. The two long sections on each side can come apart, and then the connecting rods that are in the middle, you can suitcase it all together. Like you can sandwich them together and then put a cam strap around them. The reason why that is so important is when you arrive, you are not worried about tools. You are not worried, did I lose a U-bolt? Did I lose a nut? Did I lose any of these little pieces? Like, you don't have to have tools out in the wild. Okay, that's a big deal. I've had modular frames come loose on me in the middle of a whitewater section. You never have to worry about that. So you fly in, put them back together. You're going to use a rubber mallet and that puts them back together, but ultimately the boat press fits them together. So you put the frame together, as soon as you push it into the boat and lock it in, that ultimately puts all of those pieces back together. You know, that's another joy of our custom frame. So when it comes to our boats, we're kind of unique in the aspect of that we do not sell other frames with our boat. Like StreamTech is this one thing that it's put together, meaning that we have what we think is the best possible rowing frame that was designed specifically for our boat. The whole point of the frame was to go down and lock onto the boat. We believe that you have to have a power transfer in the boat. So traditional frames right now, like if you were to go somewhere and buy a frame, it is going to sit on top. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just not our style because we do not want the power to transfer through the cam straps. We want the power of the boat to go directly to the rubber. And so that is why we do not sell a different frame. We have our frame perfectly lasered out to our tube diameter, to the internal width, to even how deep it goes down into the boat. And so it will literally, you have to jump on the frame and push down and it snaps into place and suctions down. So if you follow the traditional frame is modular in most cases, starting from the oar lock down. Well, anytime you have a bolt or a pin, you will lose some power. Like, it's just physics. Anytime there's a break in the connection, it's kind of like a speaker wire. If you have two speaker wires that has a connection in the middle, it loses power there. Same theory with rowing. And so we don't have any pins on the power transfer. The oar lock and everything is built directly into the frame. The frame goes down and locks on the tube. So when you're rowing, the energy doesn't go down and then go through straps. It goes down and it goes direct. That is why we get a lot of drift boat guys to our world, because it is that same feeling of power when you're rowing. Just like in a drift boat, it goes straight through the oar lock, straight to the frame of the drift boat. That is exactly how our boats respond. So where we get to be a part of the process should be a very valuable thing to you, because we have seen your boat through all of those steps of manufacturing, versus other models where you're buying 10, 20 rafts from overseas. You don't know anybody at that factory. You don't know the conditions of that factory. You don't know anything about it. But nonetheless, it came over here and you deal with whatever you have. That is not the case for our boats. Like, we're a part of them from day one. Like, we see them being welded. I would just say this: where your boat comes from matters. What your boat is made from matters. How your frame was designed matters. Everyone has different choices that they can make when it comes to getting your boat. But at the end of the day, to have a local, made in the United States boat with the highest quality, you're talking a triple urethaned boat versus, say, like a PVC boat. You're talking about a full custom frame designed down to the tubes of the boat that locks on and it's married with the ultimate rowing experience. Like, that matters. And so we kind of come from this model of, you're gonna pay another 20% to get our boat, but it's a lifetime boat and we don't manipulate our prices.
I'm Angela Sherman. We're at the Moravia factory. My dad and his partner at the time went down to Moravia to see how the boats were built and found out they were for sale, and thought, why don't we move this thing here to Idaho and have a business in the winter and build these boats and make them to the spec that we want to run. And what's so unique to Moravia is that we can customize anything. You can come to us and say, I want a bigger tube diameter, I want a longer boat, I want it wider, I want to fit this amount of gear in it, and we can modify it to fit your needs.
So as Angela had said earlier, we can do any raft in any color. I mean, you can see how creative we can actually be. But as far as our boats that we keep in stock, we only keep the olive ones in stock, and there's actually a great story behind that. The University of Utah was doing a fish study. They actually had a bunch of underwater cameras, and they would push a series of different boats out into the water, and they would document how the fish would behave. And so at the end of their study, there was one color that the fish didn't run from. In fact, at the end of it, they said that the fish actually were drawn to the color. And they deducted that it looked like maybe a log or something like that, where basically where a fish would find safety. And so that's the color that we keep in stock, is our olive, and that's why. We can still do custom things like logos. We have a lot of guides that want to put their logos on the boat, or we can laser them onto the decks. But anyways, if you're wondering why we keep that stock in color, that's why. The other thing that we love about the olive is that it doesn't show dirt as well, and it also doesn't get hot like some of the brighter colors. But we can make anything that you want.
We designed the drop stitch floor, and so we laminate the drop stitch onto our material and make our own floor here, whereas all the other ones are being made overseas. So yeah, the welded seams we've developed years ago, and they're very, very durable. We never see problems with them. Everyone's always concerned about, from other manufacturers, that they're going to blow or that the air pressure is too much. But we have a recommendation, but you can really go above that. And then after we weld the material together, which is just heating up the 2 layers of PVC. We have rotary welders that put the seam tape inside and out. And then we have a gentleman here, Nuke, who's been with us for over 30 years, and he hand welds the closing seam. After that, we assemble it with some glue and we add the parts. That's the only parts that have glue added to it. And then they get ready to go in the booth. So all the boats look gray to begin with. And then we'll add the urethane coating, which is a chemical it's a liquid. When we mix the two together, it starts to form a solid. And that's when we spray it in the booth. So we have about an hour to do each layer. We do 3 coatings, and then we can add any color pigment to it. So the boats can be so many different colors, whereas we're not having to order in a roll of one color, we're doing it at the final layer. And that just adds one more layer of durability. So most other manufacturers' exterior portion of their raft is our underlayer, and then we add 3 more layers.
At the end of the day, we have a 10-year warranty for private boaters, and we have a 5-year warranty for our guides. We fortunately don't see a whole lot of warranty stuff have to be done, but rest assured, like, you will be taken care of. And the other beautiful thing is the warranty follows the VIN number. And so in other words, like, if you had to sell your boat in 5 years, something happens to the boat on year 8, there's no, well, hey, are you the guy who bought this? Like, was it coded to your name? And just all these steps trying to rule out having to do a warranty. That doesn't happen. If your boat is less than 10 years old, we're gonna take care of it. The core components of the boat are already upgraded. So when you leave here, you are not gonna have to go back to your wife and be like, you know what? I now need to go spend $1,500 on oars because your other boat came with them, you rode your other buddy's boat, and now you need the square tops. Like, our boat comes with that already from the start. And so rest assured that your base package has everything that you're gonna need today and everything you need in 20 years. So when you're looking at these boats, there are things that I would look at, Are your oar locks expandable, for example? Do they give you the angles that you need? When we offer the Cobras, and not even just the Cobras now, we've upgraded to the King Cobras in the same package. We do that so that you have an extra angle for when you're rowing. Okay, that's an important thing. When you're using a traditional oar lock, you're not gonna get the same range, with every stroke. So you gotta think through those things. Your anchor rope, is it integrated? When you have rope exposed on the boat, you now have a hazard. We know people that have gotten their legs caught in exposed rope. Okay, our anchor rope runs through the frame. It's fully integrated in. We have the Spinner X pulleys down there so that your anchor rope doesn't twist up. Your anchor starts twisting, you're gonna upgrade that. These are all things that we've already included into our boat. So know this as a consumer, when you leave StreamTech, you are playing with the boat right now that is being used by the top guides in the country, and it has evolved over the years to get it exactly where it is because of all of the professional input. And so rest assured that when you're rowing a StreamTech, you are rowing what the top guides are right now. To our current customers, I just want to say thank you. StreamTech could have never evolved into what she is today without you. And so truly, from the bottom of our heart, from Link, myself, thank you. To the customers I haven't met yet, I so look forward to connecting with you. Feel free to give us a call at any time. But whenever you're ready for a StreamTech, we're ready for you.